The silent struggle. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't get talked about much. Not because it doesn't exist, but because it's expected to be handled quietly. Male loneliness doesn't usually look like crying in public. It looks like going to work, paying bills, showing up, holding it together. It looks like strength from the outside and distance on the inside. If you're listening to this, chances are you felt it. Not always sadness, sometimes just emptiness, sometimes a constant low hum of isolation you can't quite explain. And this isn't a video to blame anyone. It's not here to shame men for feeling this way. It's here to finally say it out loud. A lot of men are lonely, and they are carrying it alone. How men learn to be alone. Most men weren't taught how to talk about emotions. They were taught how to solve problems, stay busy, push through, not complain. From a young age, the message was subtle but clear. Handle it. Man up. Don't be weak. So man learned to self-contain, to process quietly, to struggle privately, to believe that needing emotional support meant they were failing somehow. Over time, that turns into distance, not from others, but from themselves. When friendships fade. Male friendships often revolve around activity, sports, work, games, shared routines. And when life changes, when schedules fill up, responsibilities grow, people move on. These friendships slowly fade. Not because anyone stopped caring, because no one knows how to say, I miss you, I'm not okay, I need connection. So silence fills the gap. And many men wake up one day realizing they don't really have anyone to talk to anymore. Lonely in relationships. One of the most painful forms of male loneliness is feeling alone while being with someone. Feeling needed but not understood. Valued for what you provide and not how you feel. Expected to be stable, calm, strong, always. Many men learn to suppress emotions because expressing them feels inconvenient or uncomfortable or unwelcome. So they stop trying. And slowly, they disappear emotionally, even while staying physically present. The pressure to be useful. Men are often valued for their utility, what they earn, what they fix, what they provide, what they protect. And when they struggle, when they fall behind, lose direction, or feel unsure. They feel like they're losing their worth. That kind of pressure creates isolation because admitting struggle feels like admitting failure. So men keep going, even when they feel hollow. The evenings that hit the hardest. Male loneliness is the loudest in the quiet moments. After work, late at night, on days off, moments when there's nothing to distract the mind. That's when thoughts show up. Is this it? Does anyone really know me? Would anyone notice if I disappeared for a while? These thoughts don't mean weakness. They mean emotional neglect, often self-inflicted, often learned. Why men don't reach out? Men don't avoid reaching out because they don't need help. They avoid it because they don't want to be a burden. They don't want to be misunderstood. They don't want to look incapable. There's also fear. Fear of being dismissed. Fear of being judged. Fear of being told, just deal with it. So silence becomes safer than vulnerability. The cost of carrying everything alone. Carrying everything alone doesn't make a man stronger. It makes him tired, disconnected, emotionally distant. Over time, loneliness can turn into irascibility, numbness, loss of motivation, quiet despair. Not because men are broken, but because no one is meant to live without emotional connection. What strength actually is. Real strength isn't emotional silence. Real strength is honesty, awareness, the courage to say, I'm not okay. Strength is learning to communicate instead of disappearing. Strength is choosing connection even if it feels uncomfortable. And yes, that's hard, especially for men who were never taught how. You are not weak for feeling this. If you're a man listening to this and feeling seen for the first time in a while, know this. You're not weak. You're not defective. You're not feeling alive. You're human. You were never meant to do everything alone. You were never meant to carry silence as proof of strength. Connection isn't a luxury. It's a need. And it's not too late to earn it. Even one honest conversation can begin to change everything. You're not alone in this, even if it feels like you are.